Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about drugstore foundations, my top 5 drugstore foundations. And this actually wasn't very hard for me to decide on. I've tried so many foundations from the drugstore and there are 5 that I always go back to and 5 that I usually constantly have in my makeup collection. So I'm going to do this video in a certain way. I'm going to talk about each foundation with 4 different things in mind. So number 1 is coverage, so what type of coverage the foundation gives. Number 2 is the staying power, so how long the foundation actually stays on my face, and I've tested all of these out in terms of that. Number 3 is the finish of the foundation, so what the foundation actually looks like on my skin, whether it's dewy, whether it's matte, that kind of thing. And then number 4 is what skin type I think the foundation will be most suited towards and what kind of things it might do to your skin, like dry it out or make it more oily and things like that. I'm actually going to do this in order, so even though they're all my favourites, I'm going to start from 5 and count down. So 5 is my least favourite out of my favourites, if that makes sense. So number 5 is the Revlon Colorstay foundation, and I have the one for combination to oily skin, but I also have the one for dry skin, which is what I should be using because I do have dry skin. But this is a great foundation. So in terms of coverage, this gives pretty much medium to full coverage. You could build it up to be very, very full coverage, like a flawless effect, which I really like about this. Handy for nights out and days that you want to wear your makeup for a long time. It does claim that it wears for up to 24 hours. Flawless look, lightweight feel. In terms of the staying power, I don't know if it stays on for 24 hours. I've never had my foundation on for that long. Well, I'm pretty sure I have, maybe at a party or something, but it never looks good by the end of 24 hours. But this does last a long time on my skin. Then for the finish of this dries quite matte on the skin, or at least on my skin. Like I said, I have dry skin. Maybe not as dry as I always think it is, but I do get oily around here. But most of my skin, pretty much all over, is dry. So this sets to a matte finish. There's not much dewiness going on with this foundation. It's probably why it's my number 5. I really look for a foundation that gives you that glow, and I don't feel like this does that. The good thing about this foundation in terms of the skin type it is suitable for is obviously that it comes with 2 different skin types in mind, so you can get the other version of this. I have the 2 and I do prefer the dry one on me. This one's the oily one. So whatever your skin type, you can pretty much find one of these to suit you. But what I will say about it, like I was saying with the staying power, after a few hours this does start to cling to my dry patches, even the one for dry skin. So that is a flaw with this. Number 4 from my favourite drugstore foundation has got to be the Rimmel Match Perfection foundation, and this shade is 100 Ivory, and I really love this foundation. I only really discovered it this year. I had it last year in the really light shade and I used it for my work experience in nursing because I didn't really want to look like I was wearing foundation, and I thought it was okay. I was like, it barely used any coverage, but I just wasn't using it right. And then when I got a slightly darker colour, I really love this. This is very similar to the Rimmel Wake Me Up foundation, but less dewy. Like the Wake Me Up one is like bam, shimmer on your face kind of thing, but this is a little bit less noticeable, but it's still quite dewy all over the face. So that's the finish of this one. I'm kind of going backwards now in terms of the sections I was planning to go with, but I'll go back to number 1, which is coverage. This can give a medium coverage. I would never say full coverage with this, at least not on my skin, but I've always had problems with foundation staying on my skin. So this gives a medium coverage. Maybe you could build it up to a full coverage, I'm not sure. But it's really nice as well when you sheer it out and it just kind of gives an overall glow. I really like doing that with this foundation. So it's very versatile. I would never wear it on a night out because the coverage isn't that great. Kind of leads on to staying power as well. It doesn't stay on my skin that long. When I mean it doesn't stay on my skin that long, I kind of compare it to foundations that I'd wear on a night out, and obviously on a night out I'm dancing and getting sweaty and stuff, so maybe that's why I don't think that this would be suitable for that. But for a normal day in college, by the time I get home I found that this was kind of going a bit crusty. Overall, from a slight distance it actually still looked really nice. It's just when you come really close up, I guess. But the staying power is probably somewhere between 5 to 10 hours maybe if you touch it up. The only thing is as well, I used to always wear this to college and I'd be putting my makeup on at like 10 to 7 in the morning, so you know I wouldn't really be being able to see what I'm doing because I'm so tired and it's so dark, and then by the time it's like 1 o'clock my foundation might be looking a little bit worse for wear. But apart from that, I really love this. The finish, like I said, this is quite dewy, not as dewy as the Wake Me Up, but still gives a nice glow. And then for the skin type of this, I would say this is really great for dry skin. This actually does not cling to any of my dry patches on my face, and I get them around here in the middle of my eyebrows, my forehead, and underneath my eyes. This doesn't really cling to them, it just kind of wears off some of the areas, like I was saying with the staying power. So I think this would be really great for dry skin. It would also be good for oily skin if you used a powder with it, because it's not the dewiest foundation you can get out there, so you're still going to be able to work with it. Number 3 is a foundation that I actually don't have on my person right now, which is very annoying. I ran out of it and threw it out and totally forgot to keep the bottle even for an empties video. Such an idiot. But it is the Bourjois Healthy Mix Foundation. In terms of the coverage, it's kind of a light to medium coverage, I would say. You can definitely build it up to be a medium coverage. The best thing about that foundation in terms of coverage is that when you build it up, it doesn't look cakey, and I really like that. The staying power of that foundation is actually quite decent. I find it to be slightly better than the Rimmel Match Perfection, I must say. So it will probably last me the whole day throughout college, and because it's quite a natural looking foundation and makes your skin look healthy, when it does start to wear off, it doesn't look too bad. In terms of the finish, that one is quite dewy as well. It's probably not as dewy as the Match Perfection or the Wake Me Up, but it still gives you a really nice glow, really like a satin finish. For skin type, that would be really good for dry skin. It works great on my dry skin, does not cling to any of my patches. It does, however, make me a little bit shiny in my T-zone, so for oilier skins you definitely have to powder with that one. Sad that I don't have it here to show you, but I will insert a picture just in case you haven't seen it, but I really love that one. The next foundation is the Rimmel Wake Me Up foundation. This one's a really dark shade. Actually, I would only use this when I have a lot of fake tan on, but I wore this religiously every day for about a year and a half. I loved this foundation. For coverage, this can definitely be built up to a medium coverage on my skin. I say that because I have quite a lot of redness and pigmentation, so I'd have to use a lot of concealer anyway with a foundation like this because it's quite sheeny, but it can be built up to a medium coverage, and that's something that's really great about this foundation coupled with the finish of it. I would say the staying power of this foundation was quite good. It's not the best out there, and it's not as good as my number 1, but it is probably second to that. I'll use the example of my college day again. That would be from about 9 till 4, sometimes 5, so by the time I get home it will be looking a little bit faded out in some places, but overall it would still look like I had quite a nice finish on my face, and that it still looks pretty flawless. So I can say the coverage of this, or the staying power of this, is quite good. In terms of finish, I think a lot of people know about this foundation already, so I think we all know that this is a really dewy finish. This has actual shimmers in it, you can see it when you put it out in your hand, but I think it's so nice on the skin. It's so sheeny. I would definitely have to powder my T-zone with this because I don't want to be sheeny all over my face, but this gives a lovely glow to the cheeks and all. So it's a gorgeous finish, especially for the summertime. For skin types, this works great on dry skin. Back when I first started using this, my skin was even drier than it is now. It's kind of calmed down a bit, but this was the only thing that was working for me. That's why I used it for so long. So this is really great for dry skin. I would not recommend this for oily skin just because it's so sheeny and so dewy that you would have to probably do a lot of powdering throughout the day, at the start of the day, throughout the day, and just keep touching it up, which might be annoying. If you're going to wear it maybe for a short period of time, or you were willing to keep touching it up, then it would still be lovely on that type of skin. And then my number 1 favourite drugstore foundation is actually a newly rediscovered, is that even the right way to say it? It's a rediscovered love of mine. I used to love this foundation, and it is the L'Oreal True Matte Foundation. This shade is W2 Ivory, just in case you're wondering, and I'm wearing it today. And this, I used to love this foundation when I was younger, and then I kind of refound it about 2 weeks ago, and I've been loving it ever since. Like, loving it. Like, it's my go-to foundation for day or night. That's one thing that I really love about this. So that brings us on to coverage. This can be built up to a full coverage foundation, which I love, and I thought that I didn't like that for a while. That's why I was going for foundations more like the last 3 that I mentioned, but I've been really loving this flawless kind of effect. I thought that with a full coverage foundation you probably couldn't get a dewy glow look, but you actually can if you use the right highlighting products. I was just being naive. So this can be a full coverage foundation. I wouldn't say when you put it on it's never really going to be too sheer, so it's medium to full coverage. The staying power of this foundation, it's amazing, and like I said before, I have a problem with foundation staying on my face long. I tried primers and stuff like that. Maybe it's because I do moisturize right before I put my foundation on, and that might make it a bit slippy and slidey around my face. I'm not too sure, but I have to do that because of my dry skin. But this stays on perfect. Like, I'll put this on in the morning and then come back later and nothing has changed. Maybe a little bit around the dry patches that I was talking about, but it's virtually perfect, so this would be great for a night out. Finish of this is quite matte, I would say, semi-matte. Again, in the oily areas of my face it can be a little bit sheeny, but it's nothing that I really even want to cover. I kind of like to keep those bits sheeny then, because the rest of my face does turn out to be quite matte with this foundation, but I've been enjoying that, and if I use a cream highlight with this it looks really nice. And finally, for the type of skin I would recommend this for would probably be combination to oily, but then again I have dry skin and I've been loving this, so it will be more suited towards that skin type, just to put it on straight away from the bottle. But like I said, I moisturize before I put this on, and it turns out perfectly. It glides on really soft. Another thing I like to do before putting this foundation on is to use a cleansing oil to cleanse my face, in particular the Una Brennan Vitamin C Plus Brightening Facial Oil, I think it's called. And I wash my face with that, and then I moisturize. My skin is so soft and smooth, and this just glides on then. So this can be used for dry skin. If you have super dry skin, just put on a load of moisturizer and I think it might work for you. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was helpful. If you try out any of these foundations or have tried them out, please let me know in the comments, and also tell me what your favourite drugstore foundation is, because I love trying new foundations. It's probably my favourite thing to try out, apart from lips maybe, but I really love trying out drugstore foundations as well, because they're so much cheaper than the high-end foundations, and also it's something that you go through really quickly, or at least I do. So I'm always looking for a new drugstore foundation, so make sure you leave a comment. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!